Welcome to Queerly Thinking. I'm Reese Wheatley. Today I am joined by special guest Deforest White, a senior dual major in English and broadcast media with a focus in journalism. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastically, Reese. How are you?
I am so good. I have thoroughly enjoyed being here with you thus far.
Excellent. Glad to hear it.
So, what are your pronouns?
I use he, him, but I will respond to just about anything.
Love that. Okay, glad we clarified that. And what is your sexuality?
So I am omnisexual non-traditional, which is in most respects like identical to pansexuality, with a very slight difference in prefix, pan meaning any, omni meaning all. So whereas pansexuality is like you have the possibility of being attracted to anyone conceptually, omnisexual folk are attracted to everyone unconditionally. And it's more of a, as long as someone is like able to consent like legally, I don't have like attraction barriers essentially.
Okay. So it truly is all.
Yeah, it's really all encompassing. There are not people I'm not attracted to.
Okay. I think I'm understanding that. I don't know too much about the difference, and I know you just said that the difference is that omni is all.
Right.
But what is the true difference, I guess?
Between any
yes,
and all?
like maybe put it in simpler terms, because I know
Okay.
that sometimes our listeners might not know 100% what pansexual even means. So
Right. Okay. So let me ask this. Reese, do you have a type?
I do have a type.
All right. Could you, if you're comfortable, describe that type to me?
I guess a a person that is determined, passionate. I feel like characteristics come before their physical appearance, but normally
Okay.
in the past it's been women with dark eyes and dark hair.
Gotcha. All right. So I'm going to chalk that last bit up to the type then.
Okay.
I don't. There is none.
Okay.
I have like aspects where I'm like, that's cute, but there's not a particular aesthetic, body type, gender. I have truly no preference. My ability to see societal beauty standards are like actually flawed to the point where I don't so much comprehend them on the same level as most people, which is actually kind of detrimental to me in a lot of ways. But there's this inherent disconnect between what is considered attractive and what I find attractive, because you can imagine like what people would consider to be an ugly person, and I, in all likelihood, would still be attracted to them. Pansexuals are like, there are no boundaries as far as gender, but like there's still that level of like preference, like it's the possibility of attraction within something. Omnisexuality is universal attraction across the board. And you're right, I do prioritize like the traits behind someone's personality.
Okay, that makes a little more sense in my head now, because
Yeah.
it wasn't making much sense before.
You're good.
I appreciate the clarification.
There's also a large amount of like variety in how people define both pansexuality and omnisexuality, so it differs a lot. People view it as a spectrum, as most of sexuality. So you'll find some conflicting definitions here and there.
Correct. Yes, and I love hearing the difference between because personally, I find it hard to understand all of them. Even being someone that's in the LGBTQ community, I have a hard time hearing something, and if someone identifies as something and I don't know what it is, I'm too afraid to ask them.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time, and I'm like, do you think you can clarify for me real quick?
You're good. The first time Two Soul was explained to me, I like fully broke down. I was like, I conceptually don't understand the thing that you're saying to me. So I fully understand. Yeah.
Yes, confusion is not fun. So, when did you know and make that distinction for yourself that you were omnisexual?
This is an area in which my experience is actually probably slightly problematic, potentially, because I sort of broke an inherent rule, and I need to establish that I'm aware that I am not the norm. There's a continuing argument between like very religious extremists and the LGBT community that being gay or having a particular sexuality is inherently a choice, and that is incorrect. I chose mine. I am a weird human. I did a weird thing at age like 11 or 12 where I thought to myself one day, if ever I am in a situation where conceivably, at the time I was purely attracted to girls, conceivably I find someone where their personality is one such that I would fall in love with the personality of that person and be happy with them for the rest of my life, but I dismissed that relationship because I didn't like an aspect of their body. I saw that to be inherently problematic, and when I gotta change that, so I did weird image training, I guess would be the way to put that, okay. Where I continuously like expanding my horizons, like on purpose, pushing the boundaries of what I was comfortable with until I was able to find it attractive. And then eventually I found that I just had the ability to find anything attractive, which is unique to me and not, I cannot clarify enough, this is not the norm. Most people can't do that. And I hesitate to tell people that about myself a lot of the times because it's been viewed before as proof that the religious folk are right, and I'm just like, that's really not the takeaway here. I'm just weird.
Something you said, and that I do not know about, cross-dressing.
Yeah.
What is that? What is
Reese.
The difference? What is the difference between... I might get this wrong.
Okay, go ahead.
What is the difference between being in drag and cross-dressing?
Okay, so that's really interesting. First of all, drag has a huge culture behind it, and cross-dressing has a huge culture behind it, and those two things overlap a lot. They are not inherently one and the same. Cross-dressing is purely, I am a male, like I use he, him, I'm a guy, dressing as a girl, and that is the extent of it. I have no persona. I generally don't do makeup, although that's not a requirement. And there's no like extra like bits that go into it. Drag has way more implications in terms of like the culture surrounding it. You're more likely to find a drag show than you are a cross-dressing show, and if you go to one of those, it's generally understood those are queens. She's up on the stage, not him. Whereas
Correct.
I'm just a cute guy. You go and look at my pictures and you're like, yeah, those are female like presenting outfits on a at least partially non-female presenting body.
Yeah. And
I fully identify with that aspect. When I first started out, I used the term trap as a like self-defining sort of thing, which has been sort of a like term of reclamation in recent years, where it began and is still sometimes used as a very defamatory term towards transgender people. And eventually, largely because of the anime community, got like very far removed from that and more applying to the genre of like very cute feminine presenting guys wearing female clothing. I've sort of stopped using that term so much, mostly not because I particularly have a problem with it, but because a lot of other people are still like being affected by the initial uses of it. So while that is the term that I personally most identify with over femboy, which is like it's got other implications and is generally less female presenting. So I prefer the first one, but it has other societal implications that we're not quite past yet, so I'll use femboy for the time being.
Okay. I understand that a little more now too. So is there a difference between cross-dressing and being trans? So people that cross-dress are not necessarily trans.
And in fact, I would argue the vast majority of the time aren't.
Okay.
So there are exceptions to that, of course.
Yeah.
But like someone who identifies as a gender is inherently that gender. Trans women are women, trans men are men. If a trans man is wearing a female presenting outfit, then that trans man is cross-dressing. But that's so far removed from being trans that it's really not part of that same equation. So like, if we were to have someone who is cis male, identifying as male, primarily wears male outfits, and just give him a dress, that guy is cross-dressing. He is not trans. Like, he identifies as male. There's, like, really no female-presenting aspects about him. Even if there were, the point at which we identify him as trans is when he says, hey, I'm a lady, at which point she's trans.
Okay. That gives me a little more perspective there. When did you come out?
I didn't.
You never came out?
Not really, no.
Okay.
There was never really any singular moment for me. It was just a general understanding of like, hey, our son keeps wearing female clothing. And then I'm like, yeah, well, you know, he's 6 or whatever. So it was just like, I grew up with that being like, hey, maybe stop it, but like mostly because that's not your clothes. If it was never really a point of contention exactly, and I never had a moment of being like, guess what, family? Turns out I'm one of the homosexuals. Because it was never necessary. Like,
Yeah.
we been new.
So everyone just kind of knew in your life. You never had to come out.
Oh, no, my grandparents are still very much, like, unaware, but in my brain, that has to be, sorry, my grandparents on, like, one side of the family. The other ones, they got it.
Yeah, they got it down.
But, like, I have one set of grandparents that are, like, it's just never really been brought up, and I was like, do they know? Do they not know? I can't tell. Should I like sit down and have the talk with them? Is that necessary?
That's always so awkward when you have like an older family member or you have an older person that you kind of think knows and you want to be like, hey, you know, and then they don't seem to know or acknowledge it. And you're like, do I acknowledge this? Do I explain this to them?
Like I've shown up to the past like 4 or 5 like family reunions in like butt lift leggings. That somebody had to like raise an eyebrow, but nope, everyone just kept praying.
Lord.
Yes.
That does that does bring the topic forward of gendered clothing. So that is perfect because I wanted to talk a little bit about that with you because being in class with you and seeing you don't seem to like wear gendered clothing very often, like stereotypical gendered clothing. That is like you seem to express yourself through the way that you dress and present yourself.
I think I dress fairly androgynously.
That's the word I was looking for.
I don't, I would argue most of my clothing is non-gendered with the exception of the leggings.
Which
Most
look amazing, by the way.
Much appreciated. No, most of my clothes, I will occasionally go like full like dress pants or like the skirt and fishnet route, but like most of the time, leggings are just more comfortable, and I find it greatly amusing when you get like a truck full of 3 people with country accents so thick that I, who grew up in Jackson County, can't understand them, who like hooting and hollering right up until the point that they get around to see my face, at which point 2 of them stop and 1 keeps going. That's my favorite thing. Just that guy in particular.
Just the one guy.
Yeah, that's my favorite, you know. Granted, that is a very systemic problem as far as like objectifying women still, but I am entertained by it personally in this instance, so I'm more okay with it. For posterity's sake, that was a joke.
I'm like silently laughing over here because I'm just trying to think of the next thing to say.
You're good. I don't leave openings. I have no weaknesses.
Oh my gosh. I'm thinking of ways that we could like, I don't want to promote it, but I did want to start a conversation about that because the leggings thing. Leggings look cute on men.
Absolutely.
On people with masculine presenting bodies, feminine, whatever.
I truly believe that nobody on this planet would not look cuter were they to wear leggings and glasses.
And
those two items of clothing look universally fantastic on everyone.
I could argue that some people don't look good in glasses.
I could argue as well, but I would win.
Why would they look better in glasses?
Because glasses are cute, Reese.
Depending on the shape.
Of the head or of the glasses?
Of the head.
Okay.
For sure.
Then put
But do they have to
bigger
be together?
glasses
Like,
on
is it a
them.
pair? Do we have to do leggings and glasses? Or
Oh,
like...
no. Each of these things raises someone's cuteness quotient by a specific margin. It's not
okay.
like a collective set. The leggings and glasses pairing was not my goal here. I've been wearing fake glasses for the past year, and I mean, they're cute.
They are cute. You pull them off very well.
Thank you.
If only the listeners could see you right now.
I've probably met most of them. They know.
Probably. So what do you think about the men and women section in stores then? I'd like to know your thoughts on that.
I guess I'm thankful that Goodwill doesn't have one. And I can just nonchalantly peruse as the two 50-year-old women to either side of me go, ooh, that's cute, and, like, think nothing of it. To be 100% honest, I really don't go into stores that much.
Okay.
Most of the clothes that I get are either so not safe for work that I wouldn't be able to go and obtain them from the Meijer and TJ Maxx that we have here, or they are things that I got from Goodwill and will use for not safe for work purposes that Meijer and TJ Maxx wouldn't be super comfortable with. So, like, outside of things being on clearance, I generally don't get clothes in places. The exceptions to those being interview clothes for new jobs and media clothes, because I will regularly be wearing, like, I wear the Unis Honest merch, I will wear Sega, various anime, entirely, I was going to say too many, but honestly not enough VTuber shirts. I'm very glad that people have finally started, like, complimenting me on those recently. That means that more people are watching Iron Mouse, and that makes me happy.
I have no idea what that is, but I'm sure
I'll send you a link.
Yes, I am sure that I will find out later.
She's great.
Yes. I'm also glad that people are bringing back crop tops.
Right?
Like men wearing crop tops.
Yes.
Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you. They're so cute.
Do people realize how good men look in crop tops?
Do people realize how good men look?
I want to agree. I can appreciate a pretty person. But it is difficult. I am not attracted to men
I'm
normally,
aware.
but men look cute.
Yes,
I can
yes.
appreciate a cute person and a cute outfit, honestly. I complimented someone earlier, and I wish men here would wear crop tops, if I'm being honest with you.
Yep. I should probably establish, I do use he, him pronouns. I don't think of myself as a man. The phrase that I've started, like, falling back on when people approach me or, like, refer to me as, like, bright young man or whatever, like you do. I like started just de facto saying not a man, just a guy, and that's my go-to at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, you said that the other day when we were in class. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a fun phrase.
Yeah. This is a quirky little distinction that is inherently meaningless, but makes me feel like I have fewer responsibilities than I actually do, and that's comforting.
I love that.
Yep.
You're gluten-free.
This is true. I do have celiac disease.
So do I.
This is one of the 3 requirements of being gay, I believe.
The only gluten-free people I've seen on TikTok are also queer.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't know how that works. Like, I don't know if that's obviously that's the algorithm working its magic, but
I mean, there's always the potential. I don't actually have TikTok. I don't know. So.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But yes, being gluten-free is challenging, but I'm pretty sure that other than my family, of course, everyone I've met that's also gluten-free in college has been in the community, which I think is ironic.
How so?
Because I believe it's qualified as a disability. So
Hey, I've talked with people from the BCM here on campus who also thought that being gay was a disability. So you know what?
They thought it was a disability. Oh my God.
So
I have celiac disease. Well, the BCM thought.
That's a conversation we can have with them.
We should have a conversation with them. I want to have a conversation with them. That is a goal.
But
first, let's talk
love interacting with religious people. It's one of my favorite things.
Do you? Why?
So I was homeschooled. I skipped middle school from the years of 6th through 9th grade. I was homeschooled. Before that, I was at Model Elementary School here, Model Laboratory School, here on campus. Mm-hmm. And starting with my sophomore year of high school, I attended Madison Central. During that time, my father made a bunch of criteria for me to meet for various fulfillments that he was obligated to fill, but all of them were with the goal of self-betterment. And one of the biggest problems with me up to that point was that I was an uppity asshole, which does remain the case. I will in no way apologize for that. But I shouldn't say that I will in no way apologize for that. I'm a very apologetic person. But I'm not gonna hide the fact that I'm still kind of rude to people. It is something that I struggle with a little bit, but mostly just find funny. And
I guess at least you acknowledge it.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that I grew up with was my parents are not religious.
Okay.
My father's an agnostic deist. My mother's an atheist. Although likes entertaining the idea of being reborn. In the literal sense, not in the Christian sense. Sorry, I was
about
to
to
clarify.
Be hold up, what?
Not like a born again Christian, not that one. No, the might have another life later.
Okay.
But there was no faith thrust upon me in my youth. So when I showed up to elementary school and actually even before that in preschool at Richmond Montessori, people were talking about Santa and God, and I went, what are those? Y'all are dumb with these magic men. And I immediately got in lots of trouble because you can't tell kids that Santa and God aren't real. That's rude. Mm-hmm. But then I kept doing that for the first several years of my life, and eventually I was making fun of people calling them idiots, and my father's like, okay, you gotta stop because you don't know what you're talking about. So if you're going to make fun of people for being Christian and believing these things, read the damn Bible. And then I had Bible study for several years, during which I read the entirety of the Old Testament and a decent chunk of the New. I have somewhere there's a composition notebook on top of another composition notebook full of my little tidbits of having read the Bible and my thoughts on each passage, and it's very thorough. He had a saying where I would have to go back a bit and reread the previous day's work before starting on the new one so that I could like redo. And then once I'd reached that qualification, now I can make fun of religious people because the thing that they think is stupid.
Okay.
So there's, to be clear, I am not generally combative about this, and I in no way wish anyone harm on account of their beliefs. I do think God is evil, so throw that out there. That's fun. That's a fun little tidbit.
If you believe God is real, you think he's evil.
If the God of the New Testament and the God of the Old Testament are believed to be one and the same, I don't care whether or not somebody died and that qualifies as forgiveness for that guy. I'm not forgiving him for all of the things that happened in the first half. No. Okay.
So that's what you found? You found that...
Oh, yeah, God's done so many messed up things.
I'd love to hear it.
That sounds like Not on the Queer podcast thing.
Well, specifically, like, pertaining to the community, when you were reading those things, were you out as queer?
I mean, again, there's never really been an in or out for me.
Okay, so you've always been out.
Not really. Like, I've been interested in cross-dressing for as long as I can remember. But there was never a point at which I was like, and I like guys. It was just that guy's cute. I like that guy. That's a cute guy. And I have no idea when that thought process happened. It was just an inherent truth about me that never really got discussed. It's being discussed now. Hello.
Hi. Nice to be with you.
Hi, I'm Dee.
Hi, I'm Reese. Nice to meet you. I really love that you say that you read them. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you did not have a conventional childhood.
No, by no means.
Which my last guest, Samuel, when they came on, they also did not have a conventional childhood. So I find that interesting because their parents didn't raise them religious either.
Right.
To an extent. Mm-hmm. But I've never met anybody that has actually read the Old Testament and the New Testament.
I have not read the entirety of the New Testament. There is quite a lot of it, and once I started at Madison Central, I learned that learning was optional. So I haven't read past about a third of the way through it. So there's still a great deal that I have yet to consume, but nothing that could be in the New Testament could overwrite the things that happened in the Old.
Okay.
So I cannot claim full authority on this.
Fair point. So moving on a little bit, have you ever experienced anybody that was homophobic towards you?
Oh, absolutely. Earlier today. But we're not going to get into that. No, there's, I mean, no matter like what flavor of LGBT you are or like where you identify.
I love that phrasing.
What flavor?
What flavor you are.
Oh, yeah. There's always going to be like some pushback from people who are like anti-everything. Some people are just contrarians, and that's like their basis for most understanding of things. And some people are very much in the realm of like, hate the sin, love the sinner, which is my least favorite thing.
That's something we mentioned last episode too.
So irritating to me. When you like chalk up what is so integral to someone's being as a sin and a problem with them, but you still love them as a person. I'm like, bitch, that is them as a person. But yeah, I have dealt with a lot of it, although I will also say I have the benefit and generally have always had the benefit of being real cute.
You are real cute.
This is true. So I've kind of been able to slip through the cracks of a lot of that. Frequently, I think the most that I got was during high school when people just found out I was into guys for the first time. And almost invariably the response to that was, well, hey, listen, I don't have a problem with that. But if you try to do anything with me, and this is more of an issue with, I would argue, like, masculine fragility than anything else, because I don't think that's inherently homophobia so much as it is like, y'all really think I'm out here flirting with every guy?
Oh my God, I know. When people are like, people find out, well, now, I want to say now that I'm out as trans, I identify as straight because I'm into women. But when I was a lesbian, back when I was only a female and I identified as a female, people would always, like, in the locker room when I played soccer, they'd always be like, don't look at me. Or, like, you know, I would go to a separate part of the locker room because they would just make the assumption that I was into them. And I wanted to be like, you can't
Y'all
assume.
ain't shit.
Yeah. Y'all ain't shit. I don't think any of you are pretty. I think you're good people, but I am not attracted to you. So I'm not going to be staring at you in the locker room.
Right.
Thank you.
There's also just the inherent, like, lack of respect that comes along with it. Like, this is an, oh, okay, well, that's fine, I guess. As opposed to an, oh, okay, moving on. Like, it should not be something that defines all of your interactions with someone unless it's, like, you bonding over that shared experience. And I think a lot of people, as far as, like, the straights, copyright pending, I think there's very much that issue of, like, you assume that it's predatorial. And that's a very, like, long and storied past of being so wildly incorrect. Asterisk. There's a long history of, like, within the clergy, very famously, there's a lot of, like, closeted, like, queer folk in there who do act predatorially because they are able to abuse their positions of power. And I think that, and just the assumption that because somebody is different than you, and that is your exposure to them as, like, or the people who share those traits, you associate those with them, and it becomes sort of like a demonization of an aspect of somebody's personality. And it shouldn't be, and it never should have been, but it's definitely something that I think a lot of people struggle with initially, like, wrapping their heads around, is like, oh, yeah, just because you're attracted to this subset of people and I fall into that subset of people does not mean that I'm out to ruin your life thinking that it's cool. And there's definitely a lot of pushback on that front. Hello, hi.
I love that. I love all of it. I don't even have to speak on some of it because you're just saying it so perfectly. But some of these things are subconscious too, which I find interesting because that's just the way that most of us have been raised, specifically our generation, just to make those assumptions, and specifically the religious community, which I'm noticing is a huge topic.
Oh,
in
absolutely.
Our community.
Like
bigger than I thought.
Like, the term of demonization is inherently, like, at the root of it is, like, make a demon out of a thing. Like, it is rooted in religion. And I think, for me personally, that's problematic, but I also know plenty of LGBT folk who fall into those categories and, like, who are religious. I'm friends with, like, some gay folk in the BCM here on campus, which is interesting. But, like, there is overlap, and I do not wish to make it seem as though I am, like, targeting religion across the board. I fully realize, like,
of course,
there are good people.
There are always good people.
Right. And there's very much, I think it is problematic to think of things in an, I know I said the straights TM earlier, but, like, the us and them categorization is inherently harmful, and we should strive to rid ourselves of it. It's going to take a while.
It's going to take a lot of growth.
Yep.
And a lot of work on both sides, not just one. So here on campus, your experience, how can someone be a better ally to our community in general?
Interesting. Well, honestly, I think I think the two ways that stand out to me the most are almost opposites of one another.
Okay.
Like, I think that the first way that people can like be better allies to LGBT folk anywhere is just exposing themselves more to it. I would use the term cultural appreciation, I guess. There's always that inherent argument of like, I'm not, I don't have problems with blank subgroup of people. I have friends who are blank subgroup of people. And that's never really been a valid argument because you knowing someone doesn't mean that you've removed yourself from all judgment of them. And I think that it would take more exposure to it and more of an appreciation for it. You really like, you want to get some people to have fun and appreciate gay culture more. Take them to a gay bar. Go to the bar in Lexington here in Kentucky and go watch a drag show or have a karaoke night.
And there's so much fun to go to.
There's so much fun. And like about a third of the people who show up to those things, like when I went to the bar the most recent time and the lady on the mic was calling out like, we got any gays in the audience? We got some cheers here and there. Woo. We got some lesbians in the audience. Woo. We got any trans folk in the audience. Woo. We got some straights in the audience. Yeah. Like,
just super loud.
Like, oh wow, it's all of you actually. They all came.
The beauty of what bar are you talking about?
It is literally called The Bar. I've heard some people
The
refer
bar
to it as the Bar Complex. Yeah.
Okay, I love the bar complex.
Yeah,
I
it's
figured that's
great.
what you were talking about. But it's so cool because like the atmosphere there is just everyone's loving, everyone's accepting normally. I haven't run into one person that I haven't just been able to walk up to and be like, hey, I just want to clarify real quick. I just realized I am 22. I am legally allowed in a bar. So
I am 15. I am not. I'm 21. Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify because I didn't want people to be like, "Oh my God, he is talking about being in a bar." But I'm 22, and just the atmosphere in that bar in general is so much fun. I personally know one of the drag queens,
Oh, which one?
Scarlet Princess.
Fantastic.
Love her, and I think that's the correct way to refer to her.
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure how she identifies in her personal life, but
Nor do I, but the
talking
drag
about her
queen
on stage,
persona,
yes.
the queens are she, her generally.
yes, I will keep it to she, her until I'm told otherwise
Yeah.
for the drag queens. But it's such an open environment, and that's so nice whenever we go out in public and, as you say, the straights, but yeah, the straights that are at the bar are usually really accepting and they don't really
They're
seem
glad to be
care.
there. They get drunk either way.
Yeah,
Like-
I wish I felt that when I was out in public everywhere, which I do
Oh,
most
drunk
of the
people?
time.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wish but I just wish we had that atmosphere everywhere, and that's what I wish for eventually on college campuses, to be honest, and just in general in the surrounding communities. That's a huge goal of mine, but we have a long ways to go to get there. But I just wanted to say that I really love the environment that you're referring to.
Oh, absolutely. It's extremely accepting. It's so much fun. I think that if people were to like let themselves go a little bit and just like have a good time with the people that they've been busy like worrying about, a lot of their initial judgments of those people would just go away. Like, don't get me wrong. We are in no way at a point as a society that we can be like, well, we're done with stereotype now. It's dead. We killed it.
Exactly.
But I mean, we can make steps, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason not to. So
I think
yeah.
we make steps every day.
Yeah.
Especially if like you run into somebody, meet somebody new, etc. Have a new experience.
Always.
Yeah. So, speaking of inclusion, how can we create more? How can let me rephrase.
Oh,
How
I'm sorry.
can
I
other
forgot about
people-
the second thing. I only
for it.
talked about the first thing that people can do to be better allies.
Go for it. Go for it.
Sorry. The second one, I mentioned they're like two opposite things. The first one, cultural acceptance. Like acceptance, exposure, appreciation. Those will go a very long way. Second one, care less. Please, for the love of God, care less.
Elaborate.
If people were to stop worrying so much about everyone else's sexualities, I think that it would just be easier for us to go about our daily lives. And that's mostly on the side of like, you know, we are in a community that's been like very heavily rallied against in the past. And I think if people were to just not worry about it so much, like it's not something that you needed to worry about in the first place. Like one, my business, but two, like I'm not causing you any problems. If you really want to be like the best ally possible, don't think of me as your gay friend. Think of me as your friend. It does not need to be the defining aspect of my personality. And don't get me wrong, super gay, very gay. But like, I don't think that the people who are like really good friends with me think of me as the gay one. 'Cause one, there's so many. And two, like, I'm like a whole guy outside of that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people fail to realize that. They see the like very flamboyant folk, they see the drag queens, they see the overcompensatory, that's not a word, overcompensating on the part of like being very outwardly like identifiable visibly as gay, and they go, that's the norm, that's everything, that's what I see, and for some reason that's a problem. If people were to just let it be and didn't worry about it so much, it wouldn't even be counterculture at that point. It would just be like a thing we put on our resumes.
I love that. I love when people don't do that. You know, like I had a friend introduce me a few weeks ago to someone completely random when we were at a bar, and they were like, this is my friend Reese. He's pretty cool. And I was like, oh, like, because I had a friend a few months ago that took me to a bar, and she was like, this is my trans friend Reese. And I was like,
Cool.
oh, love that we're starting off this way. This is not a super close friend to me, but
Yeah.
I was like, I love that. Why do they have to know that? Why is that any of
I
their
think,
business?
Yeah, no, I think Alpharad put it the same way, answering the question about like, hey, do you have any trans friends? And he's like, yes, or as I refer to them, my friends. Like,
Yes, let me just clarify. It comes before, yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
love
not,
that point so much. I think it hits the nail on the head for me.
Yep.
But I would be heavily offended if someone, like, I don't know. My parents are not going to go around saying, this is my trans son.
Right.
They're going to say, this is my son, Reese.
Right.
I don't
Because
know.
why would
yeah,
you clarify?
why is that any of their business in the first place? If they would like to know, they can ask me,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to tell them.
So, real quick, just gotta clarify, don't go up to random people asking them if they're trans.
Yeah, definitely don't know. Don't go up to random people. I'm saying, like, if you're having a combo and, like, they bring it up, or I don't know. Like, that's just not... I realize now that I made that sound completely normal.
Hey there,
Definitely
saw
don't.
you across the mire. Just wondering, are you trans by any chance? Do you want to go get a drink?
Oh my God, that might not end very well for anybody.
That could either end the worst possible or best possible way for that guy, depending on how it goes.
Yeah, honestly. But I much rather someone ask me in an appropriate situation than, like, I don't know. I prefer them not to ask someone else personally.
Yeah.
Like, if one of my mom's friends, like, said, like, hey, you know, why is Reese going by he, him? I would prefer my mom to be like, you know, he's trans, and if you have any more questions, just ask him.
Yeah.
Because I dislike when people go through different routes. That happened whenever I was in my first relationship, too. Like, I was in a queer relationship for a while, and people would like talk to other people about it and they wouldn't talk to me. And I'm like, oh my God, why do you have to go to somebody else to talk about my queerness?
Well, I think a lot of that is people are just generally uncomfortable talking to people about their problems if they don't know you super well, or if it's like an aspect that they've grown up thinking is uncomfortable. You made the comment earlier before we were recording about like how comfortable I am talking about everything sexually, and that's largely because I never had a taboo surrounding it. There was not like a reason not to speak openly. And for a lot of people, the idea of gayness was like a middle school insult. It was something that was either used as a joke or was uncomfortable to talk about. And
I remember that too. Oh my gosh, that was such a thing with our generation too.
Oh yeah.
It was a terrible insult. Like people would fight over it.
Yeah.
They still do.
It's crazy. Like public schools for me were like hearing the two sides of the coin were like, I hit him because he called me gay, or haha, gay means happy. But like, okay, y'all, I know you think you're clever, but like, you're in second grade.
If you're gonna be funny, be original about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to hear if it's technically the term for a medieval bundle of sticks. I don't care. Don't use it. Stop. It's rude.
You're cracking me up over here. With openly, I think I understand what you're talking about, and I do want to say that just made me think about, for whatever reason, in my advocacy class here at school, we talked about sex education today.
Right. Are you taking Ginny Whitehouse? Is that?
No, that's with Strata.
Oh, okay.
It's a great class for anybody that would like to take advocacy and opposition. Shameless promotion for that class because I've learned a lot from it. But my project is about the National Center for Transgender Youth. And it's very interesting because we were talking not about that in class, but I am doing a project on that and about the homelessness that the trans community faces specifically, because homelessness in the LGBTQ community is just growing in population right now, which is very discouraging. And tomorrow we have a pretty important election coming up, and I'm also studying the lack of healthcare, of gender-affirming healthcare for transgender youth specifically. And today...
That's one that's like broken not just like across the states, but also like literal like state lines, like red state, blue state almost, are like, yeah, no, if you come in and you're like, I need specific like prescriptions to help affirm this thing, there are states where doctors literally aren't allowed to say like, yeah, I can get that for you, which is wild.
It's mind-boggling to me, honestly. Just seeing, I'll have to show you some of the statistics after we stop recording, but some of them are very disturbing, and I wish more people would see it. That's the point of my research. But to go back to the sex education we were talking about the lack thereof. And it was kind of uncomfortable, the whole class. I got that vibe personally from myself, and I kind of noticed it, and I had to take a step back, and I went out to take a walk, and I was like, why does this make me so uncomfortable? And it's definitely because there was a taboo around it growing up.
Oh, absolutely.
Anytime we talked about sex, it was like, don't talk about sex. And I'm not talking about like growing up as in at home.
No,
I'm talking
like
about
socially.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, socially. Anytime anyone said sex, everyone would turn their heads really quickly and be like, what are you talking about?
It was either a we don't talk about that here, or let's go talk about it behind the bushes kind of thing. And it was always this sort of like, hey, we're not supposed to be doing this, as far as my experience goes, and was mostly people bragging about like having seen a porn, which is in retrospect is hilarious. But no, you're 100% right. There's absolutely like a societal like instinct to turn away from the concept of sex, despite our society being so steeped in sexual content.
I know.
Like when you ask somebody what sells, the first thing that comes to their mind is sex. Like, yeah, that is the thing that you can make money off of the easiest. And somehow we still like have this like desire to like keep it like behind closed doors. And like, I don't know, I think a lot of people had a similar like high school sex ed class that I did, although I admittedly probably had mine more recently than most people. Because I was homeschooled for all those years, one of which was my 9th grade or freshman year. Most people took health and PE their freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
And
it's a requirement.
Right. I had PE. I ran a mile every morning for those 4 years. So that was my like PE requirement. So I had a full year of that and no health. So I got to the end of my high school and the school was like, yeah, you got to take this high school.
You almost got away with it.
yeah, you almost can't get your GED like that. No, they or high school diploma or whatever. They made me take this class, and I'm sitting there, the one senior in a room full of freshmen, being like, I'm gonna be out of here in like 2 months, and all of you were in middle school a little bit ago, so this will be fun. And there was almost no learning about sex during the entirety of that class.
What?
Which is why, like, it's a health class. You should talk about that. Although, also, my teacher came in on the first day, wrote the word Heath on the board, and had me thinking that was his name. It wasn't. He just couldn't spell the word health. Can you tell he's a coach and not a teacher? Oh my gosh. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. That's a gross stereotype, and I realize that it doesn't apply across the board. However, no, that class was very much like abstinence is the only way that you can be free of STDs. And I'm just
what
like,
we talked about in class.
Guys, get good. Like, one, good luck getting this room of high school students to partake in abstinence. And if you know that they're not going to partake in abstinence, teach them some other way. If you keep saying this is the only way, and you know that they're not going to use that thing that you're saying is the only way, then you have just said to this group of students, there is no such thing as safe sex. And that is inherently harmful. Teach better, for the love of gods. Like,
and it's so wrong. It's so unfair to the LGBTQ community that's even an agenda that's being pushed. Abstinence, and also the fact that there's no proper sex education for queer people anyways in high school.
You only ever talk about male on female identifying and affirming. Like, that's it.
You have to go out of your way. Like, my Gay Straight Alliance club that we had to bring in. Yeah, we had to bring in a speaker. My senior year is the first time that I heard anything about like proper sex between two women, two men, etc., all the different combinations in our community, and it was interesting. And I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this. I kind of had to go off the fly. I feel like both of us, like not both of us, but I don't know about you, but I had to wing it. Personally, because I did not learn anything my whole life.
I'm sorry. You were the speaker.
No, I was not the speaker.
Okay, I'm so confused.
I was listening. Let me clarify. I was a virgin when I was being spoken to.
Okay.
And I see, right now, I'm laughing because it's a taboo, and so it's awkward to talk about.
Gotcha.
But I'm trying to push
I'm
through
laughing
it.
because it's funny.
No, well, yeah, it's also pretty funny that I'm stumbling. Yeah, but it's just uncomfortable to talk about. But that's the whole point of this show. I'm trying to talk about stuff that makes me very uncomfortable because I want to.
Right.
And I think
fortunately, I do have a bag of live crickets here with me. So.
But I loved hearing about it because at the time I was a virgin. I hadn't done anything before then, not because I never had a partner before then, but because I didn't have experience, and I wasn't going to go up to my parents and be like, hey, how do I have sex with another woman?
Right.
I felt awkward, and porn can't show you everything. And porn is not real to an extent.
Heavily disagree. Porn can show you more than everything.
I think it can show you things, Deforest, but it can't. I don't know. I couldn't learn from it personally. I'll say that.
Okay.
I couldn't learn from it enough. So having that speaker come to GSA that one day was like life-changing. Not because I learned how to, because I feel like everybody learns through experience. Even if you're shown that old school, like, put a condom on a banana trick, like, I feel like you don't know how to do something until you do it anyways.
I was famously able to swallow 2 bananas at once during morning breakfast at my high school. We had the free lunch and breakfast there, and I benefited from that. It's the only thing that I could eat there, granted, but that and large halves of peaches just by themselves on a plate.
Nothing else. They didn't have anything else.
Reese, we had the same thing. I don't know what you want from me.
How old were you when you were diagnosed with celiac?
Like 4?
Oh my God. I was 9. Jesus. Okay,
I'm also
you
talking
have it
about
bad.
in high school, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I was not in like 5th grade being like, watch me deep throat this fruit. Like
I'm so sorry for jumping topics, but
you're good.
But yes, there's no proper gay sex education offered in public school or private school for that matter, of course. But
it's
public
very much
school,
the sort of thing like
it's so problematic because people have, I think in class we found that there were statistics that reflected that more people had STDs because they weren't informed of STD testing.
Absolutely.
And they didn't even know that you could get an STD from doing such and such or whatever. So, like, people weren't even informed because they were taught abstinence. So everyone was doing stuff out of the know.
Right.
So therefore, there are more STDs in our generation and growing because people don't want to bring awareness to it.
And there's also, to bring it back to the concept of demonization, there's very famously a long-standing history of, like, when those diseases get spread, lots of people blame the gays for it. And that's, like, just a stigma that we've had to deal with for a real long time now, where it's just like, yeah, oh, no, if you sleep with a guy who slept with other guy, you'll get AIDS. Not true. Not how that works. Like, on a mechanical level, maybe how that works. But, like, these are not assumptions that are healthy to make. Yeah. And it is inherently harmful for us to make them. But they're very widespread. And it's sort of just, like, forced upon us where, like, there's, like, when we think of, like, the AIDS crisis, we think gay people and Rent, and that's it. Like, to be clear, I mean Rent the musical, not Rent like
okay. I was just thinking about something a friend said the other day about Rent, so they were making fun of me because I haven't watched it all the way through.
I'm gonna draw a target here on my back. You're not missing a ton.
Yikes, that just targeted the whole community. Oh no.
Hey,
listen.
Listen. Hey, if more theater people want to come for me, I'll let them. You good? You good, man?
Yeah. I feel like that wraps up our show today. That's a perfect place to say that I've had a fantastic conversation with you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely happy to be here.
Great.
Ryan Gum's gonna pitch a fit.
This has been Queerly Thinking with Reese Wheatley. I'll see you next time.
We'd like to thank you for supporting the Eastern Progress Media Network.